Hi, everyone. I have Carrie here. Carrie, we're so excited to speak with you today. Before we get into your story, would you be willing to share with us a little bit about like where do you live? What do you like to do for fun? Like just some of the human stuff?
Okay, so my name is Carrie, and I am in Lexington, North Carolina. And for fun, I like to be outside, which I'm outside now. I'm outside all the time, but I love working in the garden. I love kayaking and being with my family, friends, whatever they like doing, as long as it's outside.
As long as it's outside. All right, very good. Well, you've had some pretty cool results over the past several months with your business, some improvements. Specifically, the one that I want to focus on today is your sales. I'll just out everyone with the result and then we'll kind of go through how you did it. Sales in January through March, 6,700. We met in March. Is that
Right.
right?
That's correct.
And March through May, they were over $20,000 in sales. So we've got to talk about that.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that our conversation will encourage other people who might feel stuck in their business. So before we met, what were some of the problems that you were hoping to solve in your business before you started the customer first sales mastermind?
I would say mainly, like the problems that I personally had was um, really the fear of failure,
Okay.
the fear of rejection. I was always scared of recruiting. Somebody might actually say no, and I've been doing this for a long time. So I've been in our business for 9 years. This coming October, and so you would think after a while you would get over that fear, and you don't. And I feel like I was shortchanging myself when
Yeah.
it came to products. I was always listening to people, but I also found myself, and I hate to even say this, but prejudging people,
Yeah.
um, thinking that maybe they could afford this more so than that, instead of actually listening to the problem and knowing that I had a solution that would help. And
Hmm.
so just changing my mindset and all of that was a big deal. So
Yeah. So just for a little bit of context, you had been in your business for 2 years, and what happened after a couple of years? Like, I guess the point I'm getting at is you were worried about rejection and failure when it came to recruiting, except
mm,
you could be considered pretty successful in network marketing.
yeah.
So could you just share how you were able to leave your job and
So 9 years ago, me and my partner, we actually started a health wellness business basically, and I did really well with that as far as the MLM part of that was concerned. By my second year, I was able to basically retire. I keep my nursing license, but basically able to retire from being a nurse, and that was a blessing in disguise. I've got 3 kids. And my husband told me that when our youngest went to kindergarten, I was going to go back to nursing full time. Honestly, I didn't really want to because I really enjoyed being mom, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
So I actually prayed about something, like God just put something in my lap. I'm not sure what it is, but I actually prayed about that 2 years before any of this even came about, before I even knew Steve, my partner in crime, but before any of this ever happened. And so when our vision kind of came together, and I do think that's really important, is having a team member or a partner where you share the same vision,
Mhm.
whether it's in your MLM business or whatever business that you're in. Like, you need somebody there that you share the same vision and you take off with it.
Mhm.
And Steve and I are complete opposites. Like, I cannot reinforce that enough. But we work really, really well together. And so I was able to, after our second year, like I said, I was able to retire from nursing. I knew from that point on I wanted to do this full time. It's allowed me to be a stay-at-home mom during the pandemic and everything, when you had all that homeschool stuff
Yeah, yeah,
going
yeah.
on, and or virtual schools. I was able to help them still do my business at the same time, and it's been a blessing. It really truly has. After about 2 years, though, I would say for the last 7 years, my concentration has been more on finding the perfect health coaches. And so my business end, even though it was doing well, because of my customer base, it was also becoming stagnant because I was always
Mhm.
looking for the perfect person, and there's not a perfect person. I'm not the perfect person. Like, none of us fit that mold. And I'm
Yeah.
not really sure who or what I was looking for. And so that's kind
So
of how that.
how did you end up, just one more follow-up question on this topic, because I think it's so
Uh-huh.
interesting. Like, you were able to do what the dream of network marketing was, right? Leave the full-time
Yes.
job, right? Yet still nervous about rejection or failure in recruiting. So how does that, like, and I think this is really relatable. That's why I'm poking around here. Um, why do you think that was?
Um, because I've never looked at myself as a salesman.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be, and I never wanted to sound salesy. Like, my whole goal was to help somebody get healthy, not to buy products. And it just so
Mm-hmm.
happens that I feel like I have the cleanest products out there, and I feel like I have a solution to a lot of people's problems. Plus, I can teach them a lifestyle, but
Mm-hmm.
I was stuck between, am I a nurse? Am I a health coach? Or am
Oh
I a
yeah.
salesman? And it was hard for me to combine all of them at the same time. So while one business was really thriving, my other business was not doing so well. And so I wanted to be able to combine the two of them together.
Yeah, I think that's a really common problem, not wanting to be that person.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I
did not
get
want to do
that.
that.
So what do you think was going to happen if you didn't fix some of these problems that you were talking about?
Well, it wasn't going to get any better, I'll tell you that. And I feel like personally, I was becoming dissatisfied with myself, and um, I just didn't want to do it as much. And I felt
Lack
like
of motivation.
I was babysitting team members, and
All right.
they didn't know what to do. And as a leader, I didn't know what to tell them to do. So I needed to learn from y'all, what am I supposed to do so I can go teach my team members what they're supposed to do. So that worked
Yeah,
out well.
right on. So we met through our Facebook group, I think.
Hmm.
Um, and so then you decided to take the customer first mastermind, sales mastermind. And then what did you implement that helped with all of these problems?
Definitely doing the homework. So, and I love how you like do the homework with us basically on the Zoom calls. That's very helpful. But as soon as we would be finished with our classes, while it was fresh in my mind, I would go ahead and type out my outline. And then after I finished it, we have a group site for our
Uh-huh.
team members or whatever. And I would say, hey, I just finished this. Does anybody want an outline? And I wouldn't just automatically send it. I wanted them to ask me for it, kind of like
Yeah,
what you're
right on. Yeah,
doing.
yeah, yeah.
And so, so I didn't want to just blow it up in everybody's face, because there's a lot of people on that page, and not all of them are active anymore.
Right.
So I didn't want to share my information that I've taken the time and done the homework and paid the price and all that stuff. Like, I
Right.
want you to come and ask me for it. So then, just from that response, I could really tell, like, who wants this business, who wants to
Mhm.
thrive in this business, who wants to be successful. And if I didn't hear from them, but their life might have moved on by now. I don't know. So,
Yeah. Were you surprised by any of the responses, just out of curiosity?
as far as them asking for it,
Yeah.
like, um,
Like were there people that stepped in
yeah, that had kind
that
of
you were not
that kind of
necessarily
yeah.
expecting?
There
Why do
was
you
a few
think they would
people
do
that
that?
that I think everyone gets frustrated. I think you have a certain amount of few months when somebody first gets in an MLM, like, they're really, really excited. But if they're not making money immediately, like within the first 2 or 3 months, they quit. And they don't realize that it's a process, because a lot of times you hear these make $1 million in 2 weeks,
Yeah.
scenarios, and you're like, well, I'm not one of those people. And you get
Right.
frustrated, and then you're like, well, now I'm just making my upline some money, and like, all I'm doing is losing. And but I think if people will take the strategies that you have taught us, and, like, there is an outline, and you're so simple. Like, you take your outline, and I mean, I can convert that to anything, any business whatsoever, and it just works. It just works well. So,
Yeah. Thank you. Can you talk a little bit about the impact of the "Would you like fries with that" strategy? We'll call it a
yeah,
strategy. So
I,
before we met, how many people per year were you inviting to join your team?
embarrassing, um,
Yeah.
maybe, and that's a big question mark, maybe 2 to 3 a year. maybe. And I would only ask them if I felt like they would be a good health coach. And for me to ask someone to be a health coach with our other business that's a huge responsibility. One, they have to be a distributor. Two, we look at it more as a ministry. So you ain't going to make a bunch. So, and you have to basically be responsible for a group of people for 9 weeks. Like every single week, you're meeting in person with them. So, so that was a big thing. I never looked at people like, hey, maybe they just want to join the business. They don't want to be a health coach. They don't want another responsibility in life, and honestly, I don't need 100 health coaches. I just need a few really, really good ones. So now I have gone to the point where if anyone buys anything from me, I use the would you like fries with that scenario, which you taught us. And that was my light bulb moment, because I'm like, okay, and we don't do fast food because
I was going to say, I bet you hate that analogy.
I'm going to have to change it to something else, but I know everybody else in the world, like, they understand that. So I get it too. So when I got to the point where I'm like, okay, would you like fries with that? Would you like fries with that? And I would just ask myself every single time. And then that simple quote that you gave us, I don't want to make assumptions, but would you like to learn how to make money with whatever company you're with? Like that was like, okay, all I have to do is ask. And I found that the more I asked, the more I didn't care. I don't want to say I didn't care, but like,
you're not
like,
attached.
yeah, I didn't feel like somebody was slapping me in the face and I was taking it personally if they told me no. And so now I just ask. And if you say yes, you say yes. And if you say no, I still love you. We go on with life. And so that was my big thing. So now I couldn't tell you how many people I've asked this week, and that doesn't mean that everybody you ask is going to say yes, but there's more people that I would have never asked in the past that are saying, yeah, I've always been curious to see what y'all actually do. And I'm like, I wonder how many other people are actually curious, so especially in today's age, I mean, when you can work from phone or work from home or both, that is huge. That is really huge. So,
Well, and almost everyone has a side gig. It's not abnormal to have a side gig. It's almost like this is a recommendation for life is to have a side gig. And I think when you have a good leader and a good product and all of that, I think it makes a big difference. And I love that. So you mentioned a few things that you really are doing to solve your problems. So the first thing was you did your homework.
did my homework.
Did your homework in our class, wrote through the outlines, you did it. And I for those of you that are thinking about working with us, or most of the people that watch these videos are the ones that are in the mastermind, they spend more time watching me than doing the outlines. I just want you guys to hear this tip, like right after the mastermind, just do them.
Yeah.
You mentioned you changed the way you explain kits. So can you talk a little bit about that change you made and how that
Yeah.
impacted your business?
So that was another eye opener for me. So when I would talk about our kits in class, which we have, an 8-week class that we're meeting with people. So I have some people who don't do products. They may just do the class part. And then, then after that, we have kits, and they would range anywhere from, about $350 to over $1,000. And so I would always start with the class, because that's going to be the least expensive. And then I would go up from there. Well, by the time I get to the elite kit, that's over $1,000, and they're going, like, that's a lot. And so now I'm like, okay, here's the elite kit. So here's the big daddy. And it's like you get the shock out of the way, and then I kind of go down from the prices from there. And so I feel like I'm selling more kits now, just because, and actually I've sold several elite kits, but I mean, most people will do a mid-grade kit typically. They don't want to be the cheapest, and they don't want to be most expensive, and and I understand that. But that was a big change for me when I would go to do my presentations and things.
Now we talked before we started the interview a little bit about this customer first idea. So how do you think you changing your kits? Because I think everyone would be like, oh, great, you're selling more. But your ultimate mission is to help people transform their health.
Right.
So how do you think these strategies or things you've implemented, starting with a higher kit and going lower instead of starting with a lower kit and going higher, asking people if they want to earn money with the company, doing your outlines. How do you think that's benefited your clients or customers that want to improve their health?
So we have a lot of customers who are, of course, buying the products and class and everything. So when I go to explain to them that, they can actually save 30% off, and if they're already buying these products anyway, and there's a possibility that, hey, you can make money off of it, I mean, that's always beneficial to both of them. But I really feel like if someone like really digs in and they start doing their business well, there's so much financial freedom and time
Mhm.
freedom in having your own business, and MLM is a great way to do it. There's nothing, I don't know what the word is, but I mean, some people are just like, oh, it's MLM, I don't want to do it. And honestly, this is the only MLM business I've ever been in. I don't think I'll ever be in another one. I love this one. Um, and I'm invested in it, but I don't know. Did that answer your question? It might not have.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think what you're saying is since you have upped your game and shifted things around, what you're seeing is better health transformations with your customers.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
from my perspective, it's like, okay, if you get an elite kit versus a smaller kit, you're probably going to get your results faster,
Yes, absolutely.
right? So that's
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
And when someone is involved in the business, they are more consistent with living the lifestyle of the product line, which means that they're going to get better results for their health as well, right? If I am a network marketer and I want to lose 10 pounds and I invite my three closest friends into this course and we're doing it together, well, now we have group accountability.
Hmm.
And that doesn't require me to be a health coach
Right.
to bring in my top three people that I do everything with, and we all lose weight together, which is then going to transform results whether or not I become a career network marketer. I think
Right.
these are some of the things when we do kind of kick this idea of I don't want to be a salesperson, we're just like, I'm just going to learn how to communicate well. We start to see better results because all these things start to work together. So yes,
I think
100%.
now in my presentations now, I kind of use a scenario of traveling. Like I'm in North Carolina, you're in California, and I can walk to California, and I'm eventually going to get there. But if I use the tools that I have, whether it be whatever for my health, or if I go get in an airplane, I'm going to get to California a whole lot quicker than me
Yeah, that's
walking.
right.
So I just kind of
That
use
is great.
that.
I love
Um,
that. I might have to steal that when we're talking about our course because you could watch YouTube videos for the next 20 years and
yeah.
try to piece together and read 50, 100 sales books like I have, and you could probably figure out these outlines. But if you have to walk all the way across the country, I mean, when would you give up?
Right.
Yeah. Um, okay, so you talked about the outcomes you achieved. What do you think were the biggest lessons that you learned from this experience that you're going to hold on moving forward?
Um, Definitely recruiting. Don't be scared to ask. And also I love how you do the customer first, team second, ego third. And so when I'm making decisions for the business now, I'm literally like my mind is going, okay, which one's first? And then I go to whatever customer that is, I'm always going to really focus on that customer and just kind of go in those steps. So
Cool. I love it. As we wrap up here, Carrie, this has been cool. And I do really appreciate you telling your embarrassing stories because I think that that's like where a lot of people are sitting, honestly. I have run into my own things when I look at my business and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even want to tell my business partner this is what's been going on. So I totally get that. As we wrap up here, what advice would you give to people that are listening to this interview or watching this interview?
Um, definitely like take the time and be committed to this class for sure. I mean, every week, which I'm a type A personality, I'm very anal when it comes to stuff, but like I put it on my calendar every single week when the Zoom was going. There's a couple that I had to do the replays on, but like I made it an appointment, and I feel like, you know, if it was something that I wanted a change in my business, then I was going to have to put in the effort the same way that I expect someone who is coming to my health class to put in the effort. You know, you have to be committed, you know, and just, you've got to have a change in your mind, really, that if I'm going to do this, I got to do it, you know? And so, just absolutely getting the homework done, like taking the time to write it out or type it out or whatever. Give yourself the outline, look at the outlines, read it 10,000 times. You don't have to memorize it, but you got to know what's on it, you know,
Yeah.
and kind of go from there. And they're very basic. So once you learn it, you got it. And I like that. I love how you can duplicate it to anything. So
Yeah, cool. I love that. Carrie, thank you so much for sharing your heart and your time and your story with us. For those of you that are watching, I hope this was encouraging to you. Drop Carrie a line and let her know what you found helpful. And I guess we'll all see you all soon. Bye,
I
everyone.
got